Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing well. My name is Philippe. I'm a huge fan of Barbra Streisand. I have been a fan for 50 years, and in this series I'm going to try and explain my choices for a certain number of albums of Barbra which I love and which I consider are very, very important in her career, and that as people who know her or know her not so much should listen to at least once in their lifetime. And so right away I begin with the first album which I'd like to speak about, and it's her first album, the first commercial album, and it's called the Barbra Streisand Album. And it's an amazing album. But it was intentionally, the company wanted to call this Sweet and Saucy Streisand, and she refused and said this album is a Barbra Streisand album, and that's what we should call it, the Barbra Streisand Album. And so it has the very, very typical writing that you find on so many of her albums, the Barbra Streisand spelling, and then many albums, the second album, the third album, People, all have this spelling, and then she dropped it and then came back to it. The Wet album from the 80s has this writing, and this is something very important in the way Barbra Streisand functions, is a lot of it is very, from the beginning, very well thought, and nothing is in between. She knows exactly what she's doing. Now this album, originally the first album was to be a live album, and it just came out. It's called Barbra Streisand at the Bonsoir, and it is incredible. It's a live album. She plays with a quartet, and she's just in unbelievable form, the most perfect voice you can imagine, and it is incredible to hear such a young star sing so perfectly. It's all there. Her poise, her joking, the timing, the phrasing, the songs that she chooses. It's just all there. It ended up that the Columbia decided to make a studio album to release, and this is what happened, and it is just magnificent because it is arranged by Peter Matz. Some people may know that name from, he was the musical director on the Carol Burnett show, and the musical arrangements are just beautiful, and the choice of songs is magnificent. She starts off the album with Cry Me a River, which she sings like no one has ever sung it before and ever will sing it again. And then she sings a few songs that were popular at the time: My Honey's Loving Arms, I'll Tell the Man in the Street, A Taste of Honey. Those are really beautiful songs, and her voice is just so young and so beautiful and so strong and so powerful. There's also something very particular in this album. It's that the songs end with a bit of a scream. A lot of them just, she just yells it out, and there's a little bit of anger in this album, which she loses very quickly in the rest of her music and the rest of her career, but it's just very strong, and you can tell that this is a young woman who has so much to give, and it's very generous and very powerful on this album. There are two songs which were called the Cockamamie songs by Marty Ehrlichman, who was her manager, who still is, and it's Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf and Come to the Supermarket in Peking. Unbelievable songs. She sings very fast. They're very funny. They're hilarious. The orchestrations are just perfect. And the hit song on this is Happy Days Are Here Again. And she said later on in one of her concerts that when she sang it for the first time, she sang it the way it was intended very ironic, very cynical, and that later on in her career, when she would sing it in her concerts and on the albums for her concerts, it was sung with a lot of hope. And again, that's the way Barbra takes a song and just completely turns it around and makes it something beautiful. The last song that I'd like to talk about on this album is called A Sleeping Bee, and it's just absolutely beautiful. It's just a magnificent piece of poetry, you know, when you hold a bee in the palm of your hand, and when a bee lies sleeping, and it's just so just precious, the way she sings it, and the way you really feel what she's singing, and you really feel as though you have a bee in your hand. And this is not a bee that I have in my hands, it's a masterpiece, and it is the first work that Barbra Streisand gives out, and it's just already so perfect, and it's all of Streisand. She's all there. It's not somebody beginning. It's not the beginning of Barbra. It's Barbra. This album could have been sung exactly that way when she was 20 years in her career, and that's what's so amazing about this one. So the first album that I recommend, and all the others that I will speak of, are not necessarily in chronological order, but they're just the ones that I think are important in her career and important for you to listen to. And I really hope you give this a try, a listen. The Barbra Streisand Album. That's all you need. And I hope you really enjoy this, and that you that I've piqued your curiosity. Bye for now, and I'll see you very soon with another album.